Rivals are bound to be enemies. The relationship between the three major mercenary groups in Wallors had always been tense. The Bloodthorn and the Wild Wolf and Fox mercenary groups were both old, established organizations with nearly a century of history, and they had been engaged in open and covert struggles long before the rise of the Blue Enchantress. The rapid emergence of the Blue Enchantress had forcibly carved out a piece of the market share occupied by the other two, blocking their path and naturally leading to no small amount of friction. The way mercenaries resolved friction was almost always through direct force. Rarely could they sit down and negotiate peacefully, as compromise was often seen as a sign of weakness. When Triest unleashed his battle aura, Tony, Angus, and the other mercenaries also prepared for a fight. The other mercenaries in the bar near the two groups quickly moved aside to avoid getting caught in the crossfire. But no one left. They all crossed their arms, held their mugs, and waited for the show to begin. Even the bar's owner, Nightingale, had no intention of interfering, leaning on the counter with her chin in her hand, watching the spectacle. It was common for testosterone-fueled mercenaries to get into drunken brawls in her bar. As long as no weapons were drawn and no one was killed, Nightingale didn't bother to intervene. In any case, anything broken had to be paid for at full price. No mercenary dared to default on a debt to Nightingale. Nearly all of her former suitors who were still alive had become leaders of their respective mercenary groups. Just as Triest's anger was about to erupt, the bar door was pushed open again. "Big Sister Nightingale, why is it so lively in here today?" Edeline, dressed in a magnificent mage's cloak, gracefully walked in. A smile immediately appeared on Nightingale's face. As fellow female mercenaries, Nightingale and Edeline were very close privately. "You've come at the perfect time." That little rascal Tony had a bit too much to drink and had a little verbal clash with Vice Captain Triest. Nightingale's chiding of Tony was actually a way to give Triest a way out, hoping to defuse the conflict. "What a coincidence, Vice Captain Triest is here too. Let me buy a round for our brothers from Bloodthorn," Edeline said with a light smile. Triest had no choice but to withdraw his battle aura. No one could underestimate the formidable combat power of an intermediate mage. More importantly, with Edeline's arrival, his own side might not be a match for the Blue Enchantress mercenaries. "We appreciate Vice Captain Edeline's kind offer, but we at Bloodthorn can afford a few drinks," Triest snorted, leading his men to a nearby table. A fight that was about to break out was thus invisibly dissipated by Edeline's unexpected appearance. "Who's this little one? A new magic apprentice of yours?" Nightingale suddenly noticed a small boy following behind Edeline. Arthur was now dressed in a short Cyan warrior's uniform, with a pair of soft-soled brown leather boots on his feet. His long black hair was neatly tied back with a cyan ribbon, revealing a clean little face with a smile in his eyes. It wasn't just Nightingale. Tony, Angus, and the others also noticed Arthur now, their mouths agape in astonishment. If he hadn't been following Edeline, they would never have been able to connect the handsome boy before them with the little orc-like Arthur. "Auntie Nightingale," Arthur greeted politely. "What a handsome little fellow. If Auntie had met you when she was young, she would have been charmed by you too." Nightingale reached out and pinched Arthur's cheek. Arthur instinctively tried to dodge but found he couldn't move at all. "He's the new assistant Big Brother Randall hired. Big Sister Nightingale's roasted meat is famous far and wide, so I brought him to see for himself," Edeline explained with a smile. "Oh, you poor little thing. That Randall is a strange one. But your Auntie Nightingale's roasted meat will make you forget all your troubles." Nightingale gave Arthur's cheek another squeeze before turning to the kitchen to prepare their food. Edeline then led Arthur directly to the table with Tony and Angus. Tony was still looking unhappy, muttering, "I really don't get why you were so polite to Tracy. You should have joined us in giving those Bloodthorn guys a good thrashing. What's the point of a meaningless bar fight like this? Even if we won, wouldn't Captain Keynes have to clean up the mess in the end? Tony, we are mercenaries, not some street thugs. Every action we take must have a corresponding return." Edeline scolded him with a stern face. Arthur nodded subconsciously, stuffing his mouth with roasted meat. Afraid to talk back to Edeline, Tony slapped the back of Arthur's head. "What does a little thing like you know?" Arthur swallowed the meat in his mouth and shot Tony a look. "I think Teacher Edeline is absolutely right. Even orcs know not to engage in pointless fights. Pointless fights? You think I don't know those stupid orcs? They're always fighting each other when they have nothing better to do. Tony reached out to hit Arthur again. This time, Arthur was prepared and slipped from his seat under the table. They do that for honor, to compete for the title of the strongest warrior in the camp. What we're fighting for with Bloodthorn now is honor. The honor of being the strongest mercenary group in Wallors. So according to orc rules, what should we do? Then issue a formal challenge to them, fair and square. Arthur said, looking up at Tony from under the table. A challenge? Tony was stunned for a moment, then a wicked grin spread across his face. All right then, you can represent the Blue Enchantress and issue a challenge to those Bloodthorn guys. Okay, Arthur said, crawling out from under the table and walking straight toward Triest. Tony. Edeline glared at him fiercely. It's fine. If this kid dares to get close to Tracy and his men, I'll... Tony's words were cut short by a clear voice. I, on behalf of the Blue Enchantress Mercenary Group, formally issue a challenge to the Bloodthorn Mercenary Group. Do you dare to accept? Triest ground his teeth, his murderous gaze fixed on Edeline and Tony. Having a child challenge him was a naked, blatant humiliation. Don't be a weakling. Do you dare to accept or not? Arthur repeated. Weakling was a common taunt used by orcs, and to Triest, it felt like another knife twisting in his chest. Triest slammed his hand on the table. We accept. Edeline, Tony, which one of you is coming to die? Captain Triest, you seem to have made a mistake. I am the one who issued the challenge. Your opponent is me, Arthur said, looking at Triest seriously. Triest was so angry he laughed. Did they send you here to die? No, I requested this myself. Please don't jump to conclusions before the duel is over. Triest's battle aura erupted again, pressing down on Arthur and forcing him to stumble back 2 steps. Do you realize that I could kill you with a single finger? Arthur raised his fists in a fighting stance. You can try. Triest raised a finger from which a foot-long pale green battle aura extended, slowly piercing toward the space between Arthur's eyebrows. Edeline, Tony, Angus, and the others all shot to their feet, but it was too late to save Arthur now. Arthur seemed frozen in fear, not even trying to dodge the aura stabbing toward him. At the last moment, however, Triest unexpectedly withdrew his aura. If he killed a child here today, he would become the laughingstock of every mercenary in the city. Triest looked up sharply at Edeline. Are you sure you want this child to be your challenger? No, I'll do it. Tony truly hadn't expected Arthur to dare challenge Triest. But Edeline grabbed Tony's arm as he was about to step forward and slowly nodded. Yes, we're sure. Edeline suddenly realized that the boy was making a gamble, and it seemed he had already won half of it.